Hi, this is Odeean. Today I'm having a look at the Bandai Tamashii Nations S.H.Monsterarts Biollante. So this is a huge box to start off with. It's bigger than my ruler. My estimate is 40 centimeters, I think, in the longest direction. Really big. It's actually big in every direction. You can see the ends of it there. So if you're thinking of picking this up, you're in for some serious shipping when it comes to size and weight, because it is a heavy figure as well. Here's Biollante out of the box. There is some assembly required. These four legs pop off at the ball joint here. I'm not going to do it, you can use your imagination, but they are labelled individually to indicate where they belong on the figure, so no confusion can happen there. Before I go any further, please excuse my voice. I am sick today, so if I sound a bit weird, that's the reason. Anyway, here's Biollante's hideous face. So many teeth. A tongue full of teeth. I don't know if you... yeah, look at that. A tongue full of teeth. That's really disgusting. The eyes are painted on, little white dots. So, unlike some other Monster Arts that we've had, Monster Arts is a mixed bag. Some of them, like I think Destroyer, had some different plastic for the eyes. Others, like Godzilla, some of the Godzillas have been painted. In this case, Biollante's eyes are tiny little painted dots. Given that they're so small, I think that's alright. Each of the tentacles, or roots, or branches, I'm not sure what they really are, has another kind of a head. At least a snapping mouth here, like a Venus flytrap or something like that. Really just a bunch of teeth with two leaves. So, they're less posable and flexible than you would think. In the old days we might have got a rubber tube with a wire on the inside for posability on something as narrow as this, but with Monster Arts it's almost a kind of mark of pride that they give a many segmented long section, such as the tails on Godzilla or the necks on King Ghidorah, and Biollante is no different, but it doesn't give the kind of range that I really want. It's got a lot of movement. I mean, you can see how overall the arching is quite big, but any kind of acute angles you try to reach will just pop off like this. You can see that on the inside they're double ball joints, and again, you'd think that double ball joints give you a lot of flexibility, but it really doesn't. They have a small degree of flexibility each, and they don't stay on too solidly. Where you're going to notice this most of all is photography, because I would like to get all the heads around about the same spot to take a good photo, and that's not really possible. To do this in the past, what I've done is just cheat a little bit and pop off a couple of these stems and stick a blob of blue tack there so I could get all the heads in the one direction. But other than that cheating, you can't make it happen. There's not much cause to do that on the shelf, because, I mean, why does all the heads need to be in one spot? But it is a little bit more limited than I would like. Biollante has a new kind of unique head articulation. So we get the standard kind of neck going on here with this, and we can move this piece of independently articulated plastic up to cover the gap. So you can see how thick the neck is there. That kind of makes it a solid unit. That's about as high as it goes, like this. But what we also get is this ability to slide backwards and forwards. So it can pop right off, and you can see on the inside there's this kind of spring-loaded runner. And I mean, obviously it's not meant to pop right off, but it does. I think that's the best way that they could get such a solid figure to be able to lunge forward. Without that movement, we wouldn't be able to get these really downwards pointing poses like that. More articulation is down here. This is the ball joint where it was originally detached. We do have another ball joint just above that, but it's so tight as to be worthless. It might as well have been one piece. Below that, we've got this pivoting section here, and if I flip it around, you can have a better look at how that works. It really is just a pivot, not a ball. Looking at this, you can see that unlike pretty much every other Monster Arts that exists that have a kind of monstery texture all over them, Biollante has no detailing on the bottom. It's just a flat piece of plastic. I'm not sure how I feel about that. I mean, admittedly it does sit flat like this, but I think some root details would have been more to my liking than just this flat piece of plastic. Biollante's chest region here is a kind of organic mesh, a cutaway section where it's got holes right through it to this see-through piece of orange plastic underneath. There's a light up feature here with two different colors. I don't have any batteries. This doesn't ship with batteries, and it wasn't convenient for me to go out and find any. Kind of keep putting it off, and I thought I don't really care about it. So it lights up under bright lighting conditions like this. I doubt that you're going to be able to see that much anyway. This material is kind of flexible though, so you can see how it moves there. It doesn't feel like it's going to snap or anything like that. In fact, there's holes all through Biollante. This neck piece up here is also loaded with holes through it. In comparison to Godzilla figures, Biollante is a big figure. Probably the biggest monster art. It's a little bit hard to tell by weight. Maybe Destroyer was similar in weight. But if you look at the head size there, that's a huge difference. I mean, he could chomp away on that Godzilla. This is the bigger Godzilla too. Burning Godzilla stands a little bit taller than the plain ordinary Godzilla. But even though there is this size difference, in scale it does seem a little bit wrong. I remember Biollante being bigger than this, maybe up to about this high, but it really would have been just too heavy and big to sell had they gone any bigger than this. Here's Biollante next to King Ghidorah. King Ghidorah was another one that I felt was a little bit too small. There's always this tradition in Japan of underrepresentation of the bad guys, and at least in Monster Arts we get the bad guys, but I do feel that they're a little bit smaller than what they should have been, and the good guys maybe a little bit too big for some of them. Very, very handsome set of bad guys here indeed. And for no particular reason, just that he was on my shelf, here is Space Godzilla next to Biollante. He's about the same size as Burning Godzilla. Poor old Space Godzilla. I don't think I've ever reviewed him. He's not really... I mean, I don't have enough love for him. He's got a lot of good things going on, but everyone else seems to do what he does just a little bit better. One area where the articulation is pretty lacking is in roll. So, I mean, these neck segments do have balls in them. You can force a little bit of roll out of it, and you can force a little bit of side to side, but this neck thing won't go side to side, and the roll isn't really enough to get him looking away to the side, and like he really can't look to the side. His movement just doesn't cut it, and every time you do that kind of thing, it puts too much torque on the runner on the track that I showed you before, and it tends to want to pop out. So he's more of a shelf piece. Just sit him up there like a huge paperweight to look really cool, but it's not so good for posing like what I've got used to with some of the other more flexible figures. My final thoughts, well, that was a quick video because there's not really that much to show. It is a pretty stationary figure. It's expensive too, very expensive. I think the combination of shipping and purchase price in US dollars was about $250. I think at the time it topped $300 in Australian dollars. As a standalone piece, I can pretty definitely say it's not worth paying. If you have to pay about $300 or $250, I don't think that this figure is worth that sum. It could have done a lot more for that price, although the real value of it comes in having all of the Monster Arts Godzilla figures, because it finishes it off, and that's the way I viewed it, and that's why I bought it. I know there was a lot of hype because there's been so few figures of Biollante, and understandably, because the figure is huge. You have to build up a real fan base of a line before you can release such a big expensive toy. Other points of disappointment for me are that it only has 4 tentacles. I've watched the show and there seem to be a lot more than 4 tentacles, and the fact that it's just flat bottomed and those tentacles are permanently kind of upwards thrusting like this, that bothers me. I would have liked them to be like maybe 4 upward thrusting ones like this, and then more underneath ones that he could kind of ride on or be sitting on, like a kind of roots, or sitting, you know, because he was in the water and some of them were going under the water. So the fact that he's flat bottomed is probably the worst part of the equation for me. But I don't want to create the wrong impression. It's not all bad. I only feel those disappointments because it's got to do with the equation of price and what you get. It has got a lot of strong points, just like other Monster Arts. It's very well sculpted, and every piece has gradients of paint. You can see that it's moving from darker to lighter green, so it's not like they've skipped out on the finish. I mean, looking in here, you can see these shiny thorns growing off Biollante, but it's kind of less interesting as a sculpt than some of the more movable Godzilla-like figures. But I'm still happy with it, and I think that the value of the production is still really high. If you love Biollante, definitely I can recommend picking him up. I've enjoyed it after I forgot how much it cost. After the pain of paying for it left, I've enjoyed it more, and it does look very nice sitting on my shelf. In comparison to this, a similar figure has just bought me the GX64 Yamato, and I think this is going to be a similar theme to Biollante in that both toys don't really do very much. I'm really curious to see which one I end up liking more, because I love Godzilla, but I also, growing up, watched a lot of Star Blazers and liked the Yamato quite a lot as well. So maybe once I get that toy, I'm going to bring Biollante back out and do a thumbs up, thumbs down, which one is the one to get if you only have $300. This has been my video review for S.H.Monsterarts Biollante. I'm Odeean. Thank you very much for watching. When it comes to a figure like Biollante, I think that you can almost experience it through photos and videos. Maybe if you're not so hardcore, you don't need to actually buy it, and that's because there's not a lot you can do with it. Through the video, you've probably seen me just moving this around, and that's pretty much all you can do with it, and it grows boring relatively quickly, so it does just sit on the shelf like a huge weight. So if you can be content with looking at this video and looking at Flickr and stuff like that, then probably that's the way to go with this. There's a lot of other enemies that you can buy for Godzilla to fight. It's not 100% necessary to also get Biollante. Anyway, I enjoyed it, so thanks for watching again.